Well, hey there everybody, I'm Jack, and this is Raw Tropical Living. Thanks for joining me today. Nice quiet Sunday here, just a couple of days before Christmas, and I'm already in chill mode. Just gonna shoot this video, gonna do some Instagram stuff today, and just kind of enjoy the day. Probably get out in the park a little bit later. If you're not already, listen, if you're not already following me on Instagram, you should go over and follow me on Instagram. You can either find it under Raw Tropical Living or Jack Albritton. I show a lot of the day-to-day stuff there. Like, I have a lot of fun in sharing my walks in the park and just different thoughts there. So anyhow, maybe think about it. Today I want to talk about plant-based diet first, then raw food diet maybe. Guys, I do videos every day, so if you're not already subscribed to the channel, I'd appreciate if you'd go down there and hit that big red subscribe button, then click on the little bell and check send notifications so you'll stay subscribed to the channel. Thinking yesterday, let's get back to basics. With the message of this plant-based, let's get back to basics in this next year. And let's put the most important things first, the priorities, and let's work down from there. And I always want to make it 100% clear that for me, I advise focusing on a plant-based diet first. Do not go like just from day one all in with this raw food diet obsession. Focus on, and there will be some people that'll go cold turkey and they'll do quite well, but focus on learning the fundamentals, figuring out this lifestyle, and making it work for you instead of jumping right into something that's tougher to make work for you in your environment and then just getting frustrated with it. And when I talk about let's start with plant-based diet first. I'm talking about the SOS version of a plant-based diet first, not the junk food version. I'm talking about the salt, oil, and sugar-free version. Or, you know, when I say sugar, extra sugars. Because as I'm always going to stress on this channel, to me it's about a clean plant-based diet first. In other words, like, I'm sorry, I know for too many people raw is law, but I will take a clean plant-based diet over kind of what I call a junk raw diet or a high-fat raw diet. You know, please don't get into this thing of like doing anything to stay raw, because I'm gonna tell you something. When I see unwanted, like these people that are like raw is law, and they'll fight you tooth and nail, and then they gain a good chunk of weight. I'm gonna tell you something right there. I'm sorry, that's not healthy, because except for a few exceptions out there, you're not gonna gain unwanted weight eating a clean, healthy version of a raw food diet. Been doing this for 6.5 years. Weight's been an issue. I've tried to get it up, and I'm getting it up, but I have to focus on gaining the weight every day. So when you see these people that are like raw is law, but they gain a whole bunch of weight, well, are they really better off than they would have been just, say, stepping back a little bit and maybe having some steamed broccoli or some even steamed sweet potatoes or whatever? And I think sometimes, listen, what anybody does is their own business. Do it as you will. I'm just trying to kind of always give you my opinion and what I think on this. And like, I'm hands down always going to recommend a clean version of a plant-based diet. And I think it just makes it's a little bit more digestible. It's a little bit more realistic if you learn in a progression, if you learn step by step by step. So I'd like to see people kind of go back to the fundamentals. Get some books. If you are raw, I want to stress this over and over. Some of the people that I recommend as resources, you can figure, how do I quite say this? Don't just watch raw people. Don't just read books by raw people, because there's not enough history on that. Now, I'm not disagreeing with them, and I have a number of raw books, but I want the knowledge, I want the facts, I want the Dr. Greger information, I want Brenda Davis, and not just her becoming raw, I want becoming vegan. So let's step back and get some good fundamental vegan plant-based knowledge in there. Let's make sure that you can do a plant-based diet without all these little things in there, without the processed food, without the oil, without the salt, without the sugar. And you know me, I'm not an always or never person, just to be fully transparent. Even I'm not saying I've never touched this like it's rat poison. I've used some oil back a couple of months ago, and then I didn't. Sugar? No, I don't. I have no reason to add excess sugar. Same with pink Himalayan salt. From time to time, I feel like, yeah, I want a little bit of salt in this recipe. I'm talking about what we do most of the time. That's what really counts. It's not what you can do, no matter how hardcore or whatever you do for a short period of time, or even if you mess up once or twice. It's what we do sustained over a period of time. So get that knowledge down on the plant-based. Get plant-based down above everything. Get plant-based down. And then you can extend it from there, and then you can add raw in. Now, I'm not saying you have to be 100% cooked in the beginning. I'm not saying you have to be anything. Obviously, you're making the decision. But if I was recommending, I would say don't worry about eating cooked food as you're learning all about this new way of eating, this new lifestyle. But I would say to include as much raw food as possible. Listen, I don't care if you're raw, I don't care if you're cooked vegan, I don't care if maybe you're not even plant-based. Everybody can benefit. Like fruit in the morning, that raw in the morning is just so good, because what is breakfast? It's breaking our fast. So, I mean, I see a lot of this stuff, and I mean, if it's vegan, that's great. But why heavier stuff? You know, have that ease into the day. Ease into the day. That's why I love the juices. I love the smoothies. I love just, say, having a couple of fruits cut up. So, yes, I want you to focus on plant-based, but you can do as much raw as possible, because there's a lot of raw possibilities in there. And I think sometimes once you take out that little barrier that gets in your head psychologically, like everything has to be raw, I think you'll actually eat more raw food than you think you might. Because think of it like this, even if you're new to this lifestyle. You have yourself like a big smoothie for breakfast, or, you know, maybe some ice cream, something with some good bulk to it. And if you had an ice cream for breakfast, maybe you have a salad or a smoothie for lunch. I'm telling you, it's not, even somebody that's not plant-based, wouldn't be that hard for them to jump into this lifestyle and do a couple of meals a day raw. I mean, because you're not going to die if not everything is cooked. But it takes that little psychological thing off if you're not like, okay, I got to be raw all day. I got to be raw all day. You know, maybe you're totally fine with eating like raw till dinner. And there's nothing wrong with that. Everybody's going to do something different. And I'm all about realism. Listen, the raw is always going to be the best for me. I feel the best. I like doing raw the best. I advise do as much raw as possible, but I'm also a realist too. And I know there's a lot of people out there, for whatever reason, whether it's in an area where they can't get adequate produce, whether it's they are into the whole, okay, I get cold in winter thing, whatever it is, they either do or do not. Their reasons are their reasons. So I think let's make it a little bit easier. Don't put your whole focus, always think plant-based. I want to say this over and over, so maybe when 2019 comes, it'll be in the back of your head subliminally, and you'll remember Jack talking about this. But let's make 2019 more about the year of plant-based, less about raw. Like I say, I'm starting to see raw is more of an industry than it is an actual, like, okay, let's give people the best choices for their health. I mean, you know, let's don't do it just because there's an industry out there and it supports, you know, buying this and buying that. Let's focus on that true health. That's what I always want. That's why I'm always saying I want to meet people wherever they are. I've got people that write me all the time. They're not even vegan, they're not plant-based, but they're moving that way. A lot of people that'll write me over, say, the course of 6 months or a year, and they started off, they had no plan on going plant-based. They go plant-based. So I hear all these little stories, and people send me messages, and I like that. And you know, I really want to see this obsession. If anything I could wish for 2019 is for this obsession over these I was going to say this obsession with the raw food diet to go away, but every group dynamic is about the same out there. We're just not going and seeing it. There's the same obsession in every community out there. There's raw food diet obsession. There's plant-based that do their plant-based this way. There's cooked this way. There's this and that. There's paleo. They're hardcore. They're obsessed with their diet. let's get out of the obsession. Let's get out of the labels, the minds, the obsession, and let's just focus on having the strongest body possible. That's what I'm always looking at. I mean, as I get closer to the end of the year, I always get real introspective, and I get real serious with myself, and I ask myself, okay, how can I better? You know, no bullshit, no, you know, nothing I'm gonna say on YouTube, or no reasons other than just my physically being better next year than I am now. And I bet, you know, I work like that. I think like that. And I make subtle little adjustments, and I'm always kind of trying to tweak. But the last thing I'll tell you, and I'll end with that, is it's worked for me for 6.5 years. And you know, you get to a point and you're like, wow, I can't feel better than this. Maybe you're 3 years in. The reason I seem to think what I'm doing is working or is sort of the right way is because I keep upping it. Now, yeah, I don't up it as much as that first year. You make lots of gains or you see lots of changes. Not so much as you go on, but I still see improvement. I still see myself, you know, sometimes I'm like, okay, I'm not going to get any, I can't feel any better than this. And then a 6 months or a year goes by and I'm like, yeah, I feel just a little marginally better, you know. So anyhow, let's focus on the health in 2019. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you like it, please give me a thumbs up, and we'll see you tomorrow. Peace.